Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast on to analyze the games that we love, the headlines of music, and the movies we can't forget. I'm host Wellington Burns, and I'm joined by special guest Micah McDonald. No stranger to the show. He's been on countless times. This is no real stranger. Obviously, a really good friend of mine, former high school classmate. Thanks so much for being back on, man.
I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to talk about what we got to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah, man. A lot of topics to get into. Obviously, finals topics. We're gonna get into some other NBA stuff, and then the second half, we're gonna do an exclusive review on John Bellion's father figure. So, listeners, listen to it. Listen to it. Don't listen to our review before you listen to it. So, listen to the full album. Do your due diligence and listen to the album
That's
because
right.
it's a really good one to listen to. And to start off with, Tyrese Haliburton's obviously incredible game winner, and the Pacers stealing game one from OKC. It just continues. It continues with him doing what he was doing. And he had a 21-foot jumper with zero point 0.3 seconds left to give Indiana its first and only lead of the game. They win 111 to 110. OKC is stunned, and it's really insane to think about just the fact that how many turnovers they had. I think they had the 25 turnovers, trail by 15 in the fourth quarter.
25, yeah.
We were talking about it last night. It felt like almost like a game two Dallas Miami comeback in 2011 when they really like stole it. And it's like, oh man, this changed the series. But this one was in game one. What were your
Absolutely.
thoughts on this game? And because I still think OKC, I think they're going to come back very forcefully in game two. But Indiana, they got the big split that they needed to get.
It's interesting because obviously, and even still after this game, obviously coming into the finals, OKC is such an overwhelming favorite to win this.
Oh yeah,
Um, and so you saw that for most of the game. Obviously, they had 20 turnovers in the first half. They had
Mhm.
25 total to their seven of the whole
Yeah.
game. When you see that stat,
You're
even
like,
com
come on, they ran
even
by.
making yeah, even making the other ones of like the Pacers shot better. They
Yeah.
shot more efficiently. They had more rebounds, but to have to have a plus 18
Hmm.
in turnovers and still lose the game,
Bonkers, bonkers.
bonkers. The other crazy stat is that they're the first. This is the first time out of 183 times. You probably saw this. It's the first time out
Yeah.
of 183 times that a team trailing by 9 points in the final 3 minutes of the game since 1971 has won. It's the only time it's happened since 1971.
History.
Crazy. And he's just been doing this. He did it. He did it game one against the Knicks. He's hit 4 game winners, I think, this in this playoff series in this playoffs, and it's
Sometimes
it's
we just
just
gotta accept that.
incredible.
At some
It's
point, we just gotta
incredible.
accept that this guy's just clutch. At some point, we just gotta accept this guy's clutch.
Absolutely,
Like I
absolutely.
just yeah, and that's my thing. Like I even want to get to him. Just like I feel as though there's a narrative around Tyrese Haliburton that a lot of players, NBA players, don't like him. They think he's too braggadocio, has too much braggadocio, this and that. I I do see that how that can rub players the wrong way, but I also think this over this like last year when people called him overrated, they're like that's just fuel to the fire. I feel like that's gonna motivate. If you're a real player, that's like, oh, you guys think I'm overrated? I'm gonna show you that I'm not. Like, I personally think, and I don't know what you think, but I think that was just motivation for him.
Absolutely. I'm not saying he's on any level of Kobe Bryant, but you talk about Kobe Bryant and people telling him that he's a ball hog and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do this. Like he just doesn't care what you think of him. He's like, I'm
He
gonna go
got
out and
he
play.
got some major criticism for
Right.
that.
I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna play my game. And I think Tyrese he got called this overrated when he had that shooting slump. But he's like, I'm gonna work on my game. I'm
Mhm.
gonna improve my game. I'm gonna get better. And now we're seeing one of the most unlikely scenarios probably since 2011, even maybe beyond that, of a team that probably shouldn't be here but is here. Just by coming back and crazy comebacks and they're just efficient all the way around. There's not one guy that typically takes over. It's really between Halliburton and Siakam's
Yeah.
been playing well as well.
Siakam is so underrated, man. Like I just wish people would just like give that man his flowers. Like goodness.
He really I think Siakam is perfect at a number two.
Yes.
And you saw this when Kawhi was in Toronto.
Yeah.
But then you saw the burden that he carried on the next year when he left
Hmm.
and he was the number one. And
Yeah.
I think he's perfect at a number two, especially with the guy that can facilitate like Tyrese is. Tyrese is probably one of the best playmakers in the game.
Just like how Kyrie's perfect at it too. We don't need Kyrie to lead. It's
Absolutely.
just like, hey, be the second
Absolutely.
best player. Oh, he's gonna cook.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, definitely. And now getting into kind of like what were the main culprits for OKC. I definitely think. I mean, come on, I saw too many guys shooting during the waiting moments when I'm like, give it to Shea. Like, what are we thinking? Like, what are we overthinking? And I also think that sometimes in that moment, Jalen Williams has to be better. I fully think Jalen Williams.
Sure.
I'm at a point with him where I even told somebody like he's at that like James Harden level of like he could be like really really good, or he could just be that guy that's like, oh,
Right.
like he's good, but he can't step up like in the biggest moments because like you get to the finals, that's the biggest moment.
Yeah.
Williams has to be better, but I also know it is tough when Shea is going to get a lot of attention, a lot of defensive coverages, so you can't always get it to him. But what do you think OKC needs to improve on in game two?
Well, the problems that that we keep seeing when they do lose these games, obviously they're so talented all the way around. But
Hmm.
you talked about Jalen and Chet had an off night, and it took Shea to score 38 for them to be
Yeah,
in that position. And I mean, their defense was still incredible. Obviously, they're up by 15 with 9 minutes left in the game.
yeah. I
It
mean,
was the
Shea
biggest lead
just
of the game.
like grabbed the ball out of
That's right.
Tyrese.
I think the biggest problem, though, we talked about the turnovers, is that they could not convert. They had of their 25 turnovers, they only got 11 points off turnover.
Yeah,
So if imagine if they just capitalized on 50% of the
and they're
turnovers,
good,
there
and they're
wouldn't be a
good.
game. It
Yeah,
wouldn't be a game. They
they run
would have a
away.
20-point victory, 30-point victory, just because. And that's the problem. The other problem was they only had one field goal in the last 4 minutes of the game, and they
You
had
know,
two free throws. And that's it's
that almost
crazy.
reminds me of that game seven in Golden State and Cleveland where like they just don't score the last 5 minutes. I was like, there's no way. Like there's
But
no way
but
they
think
can't.
about it. Think about it this way: Shea Gilgeous is their team.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Now it's not a knock on any of the guys that are solid around him, like a Jalen Williams, like a Chet Holmgren. They're good, but when they're off and you put it all on Shea and you're expecting him to go the whole way, and so
Mm,
you get into a place in the game. It's late in the game. Obviously, you want your star player to clutch up, but he did it the whole game.
yeah.
And so I think you even on talented teams, I think you can get to a point when you're solely reliant on one dude to do this thing
Yeah.
and to extend it in a clutch time, the last 9 minutes or 4 minutes in the game,
It's not gonna work.
you're gonna mess up on some. And again, they only lost by 1 point, but it's a big loss. Um, I still think that they're going to win the series. I'd be
Yeah.
shocked that the Pacers won, but the Pacers have already proven themselves in an incredible amount of a way of just being able to play as a team and being able to just not give up. I don't understand. It's so funny that they don't seem to play the first half well, but they always play the second half, especially the fourth quarter, really well. They are really good, and I think one of the problems that the Thunder had is that Indiana is really good at changing. They're really good at adjusting.
Yeah.
And they just like, okay, this is not working. We got to adjust. No matter how late in the game it is, whether it takes them to the fourth quarter to find a fit, figure out, they don't give up. And they don't just keep. I mean, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different
Yes.
result, right?
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
not insane. They adjust
Yeah.
and they fix, and they really do work well as a team together. And I think Tyrese is the guy that is helping them do that because he is top three playmaker in the game.
Mm.
And so it's incredible to watch it work, and it worked last night.
It did, man. Do you think game two is gonna be one of those like vintage OKC games? Like, you think they're gonna like? You think they could possibly steamroll them?
Well,
I see them
yeah.
having.
Well, we saw this against the Nuggets when the Nuggets
Yeah.
won, and then and
Shay was like you know
he said virtually
remember
the
that
same
time
thing
he
last
walked off.
night too.
Remember that time he walked off the court and he just like he was smiling and I was like, oh dang, he's about to go off. He's like, all right.
He's a special player. Full disclosure, I still would have chosen Jokic for MVP. That's just my thing. But Shea deserves an MVP in any other season and he even though he won it, and I wouldn't agree, he's the only other guy that could have contended for that MVP. So
Oh yeah.
he's a phenomenal player on a great team. And he's not the type of guy to give up, and he'll bounce back. And he really needs Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren to step up in their bench. Their bench was not good last night. So and I mean, you look at Indiana's bench. Toppin was their second highest leading scorer. Now they didn't have anybody score over 20 points, but
Hmm.
Toppin scored 17 after Siakam's 19. You know,
Yeah,
you have at least
Toppin was
somebody off
big
the
time.
bench.
Toppin was big time, man.
Absolutely.
I think the next thing we obviously have to get to is Tom Thibodeau. You know, him getting fired from the Knicks and happened earlier in the week, but so much has happened about like this offseason about KD, Giannis, like where's Giannis gonna go? I mean, obviously today there's a report about the Knicks, they're putting together a package for Giannis, which I fully expect them to like go full throttle to try to get one of those guys. Um and I kind of equated this to Mark Jackson, where I'm like, I think he's a really good coach, but he has this style that's just like it runs his players into the ground, where you just have to be like, you keep playing these guys minute after minute, like 45 minutes plus. I'm like, it's just not sustainable to win a title. And I'm like, I think if you get like an Emi Udoka, a guy like that,
Mm,
possibly, I think like he takes them over.
innovative.
Yeah, I think he needs to, because he's just he's like stuck in his ways kind of guy. Like, oh, this is the way we do it. This is
Sure.
the way we do it. But like, I think Emi Udoka is like more innovative if they go after him. What did you think about the firing?
I think it's the right decision. And you have the other side arguing. Obviously, he took them to where they haven't been in a long
Eastern Conference
time.
Finals, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, he did.
understandable. But I think the thing that tipped it over the edge was the
That's
game one losing
ridiculous.
it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That there's no excuse. And so and I think the management talked about this as well. I think they're pretty well. They didn't say it. I think they're pretty abrupt. Is that he is or their sole focus is winning a championship, and they clearly don't believe that he can get them there. And I think that's a common sentiment. I think they need to find somebody who has the ability to win, has the ability to innovate, has the ability to bring new life into this team where they have talent. Um, and so I just don't think Tom is the right guy for the job. That's it's just straight and
We
simple.
have to be honest about that. We're not saying that because, like, yes, we know we got them to Eastern Conference Finals. That's good and all, but I know they want to get to the finals. I know
Sure.
they'd rather be playing in June, and
And
I think
they should have beat
Giannis,
the
yeah,
Pacers.
yeah, for
They
sure.
should have beat the Pacers.
And I fully think Giannis is a guy who can do that.
He can.
I mean, if
I'm not sure
now
how they can even put something
I
together
don't
for him,
even
but
really know. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I'm like, to be honest, I don't even know. I'm like, what are you gonna do that's gonna actually entice them to get over? Because it's like
you have to give up two or three of your key guys because you don't have that kind of draft capital. I just don't
they have to give
understand
up
how
Anunoby, right? They have to give up Anunoby. They got to get
they would have
Anunoby.
to. They would have to give up one of their. They would have to either give up Brunson or Towns.
Oh gosh, no, you got to go down.
They would
Don't
have
go.
to.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying like you can't give up Brunson. You can't do that.
You can't give up
You
Brunson,
can't give up Brunson. Like
and
Brunson's like
Town swap is not enough
it's
for
not
Giannis.
enough. Yeah, they're like you're not fooling us like that. No, you're
Yeah,
not giving up.
I
Yeah,
don't.
so
I know they would try, but it would shock me if that's where he went.
same. I think he goes. I think I could totally see the Rockets. I could totally see the Rockets for
Mm,
Giannis. I think like
sure,
I really think a younger team is gonna get like either your Spurs. I know you want the Spurs to
sure.
I could see a younger team getting
Sure.
Giannis.
If we're talking about Giannis, I think the teams that has the most to give are Houston and San Antonio. I understand that Toronto has expressed interest and there's mutual interest with him and Giannis, um, in a trade there, and they do have first round picks to give, but the player talent to swap, I don't know if it's there. I just know that they have mutual interest. Giannis apparently has expressed mutual interest there,
Mm.
but the likelihood of a team that can have enough to give, especially with San Antonio getting the number 2 pick, I think is a more likelihood of going to Houston or San Antonio. Either way, Houston's getting one. I would be shocked if they didn't get either KD or Giannis in this offseason. But there's also the big potential of Giannis to stay. He hasn't. There's
And that's
not.
another thing. Like, what if he's just that loyal guy who's like, I just want to build with them? It's just
Yeah.
like
What if he
he's
is
won
a
a
Dame
title.
what
Yeah,
if he
he's
is a
already won a
Dame
title.
until it's too late, right? I think Giannis obviously has expressed his openness in exploring a new team, but I think Milwaukee, after their championship win, has done a horrible job in putting anybody around him that can actually do anything.
Yeah.
So if I'm Giannis and I'm in my 30s now, I'm thinking like what has a good young core, especially with generational player like a Victor Wembanyama, with a really good center to help you off put some of your stuff like an Alperon Şengün,
Hmm.
and
Şengün for sure. Yeah.
a
Şengün's
bunch of good skill players around like a Stephon Castle, like a they're really good, and so I think either of those teams have the best chance to get Giannis for sure.
I definitely think so. And I think a lot of times, we talk about, we see the headlines about, oh, Miami, Golden State. I'm like, those teams don't have enough. They can't do it.
If
It's
you're
not
in
about
win
the,
now, if you're in win now mode, it doesn't make
they're
sense to
not
go to
doing it.
Miami.
It's like,
Doesn't make
what?
sense to go to Miami.
It's like, it's just,
I don't understand it.
this isn't, and I don't understand when people say, I'm like, this isn't, you're not thinking about logistics. You're just saying, oh,
Right.
like that destination. I'm like, it's not about, yeah, of course, people would love to live in Miami, but it's like, what do you have? What package do you have to put it together?
Especially at this time in his career. He's still
He's
in his
30.
prime. He's still
He's
good.
30, right? Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
30 or
still in his
31.
prime. He's still good. But and he's already won one for sure. But if you're trying to cement a legacy, I mean, we were talking in his up and coming, especially around the time of his championship, that he could be a top 5 power forward of all time.
Hmm.
And I think if he's trying to cement that legacy, he can't go to Miami. He has to go one of those teams that are up and coming. I mean, San Antonio and Houston both drastically improved their win rates of these last few years. Obviously, Houston more so.
Yeah.
So that could be that's to me, Houston is the most obvious choice.
Oh, for sure.
Just
Like
because of
it's
what they
so
have and what
super
they've done
obvious.
with what they've had for sure.
And I think when we get to before we get to a break, KD. I mean, uh, apparently the Raptors have emerged as a landing spot for him. I don't know how that would go.
Interesting.
What do you think
Uh,
about that?
well, I understand that the Suns are lowering the asking price, so it might be easier for a team to get KD. Uh, but again, KD obviously he's won championship, but he's much older, right? He's also in win now mode. Like if I can't be on a team that win, I think KD has more of a potential for Houston or Miami.
Mm.
Um, but I know there's a lot of traction and a lot of talk between KD and Minnesota. I haven't heard this. This
I
must be
have
new news
seen
about
that.
Toronto,
Yeah, I
but
have
there
seen that with
I don't know the
Minnesota.
likelihood of Minnesota. I think that's less likely. I understand that
Hmm.
they would want it to happen with the pairing with Anthony Edwards, but
Hmm.
if I'm Anthony Edwards, I'm not trying to give the ball to anybody else.
That's what I'm saying.
He's just
Like,
the
bro,
type of guy.
and like you can't let this happen. You can't let KD come over. I'm like, nah,
Yeah,
this is your team.
right.
This is
I,
your,
I
don't
think the
don't let somebody
likelihood
do that to you.
would either be Houston or Miami. Toronto would be interesting for either of these two
Would be.
guys. Um, I just don't know. They obviously can give more for they can create a reasonable offer for KD, especially because they have some younger talent like a Grady
Yes.
Dick and
Yes.
a couple other guys that they can use in a trade to alleviate maybe not giving all of their picks
Hmm.
away. And KD the lowering in the asking price will help a lot of teams. But I do think and I think Shams has said this, and I think Brian Windhorst has also said this. It's whatever is Giannis first. KD's
Hmm.
gonna have to wait for Giannis to go, and then we'll see what happens with KD.
For sure, man. I totally think that this is gonna be an amazing summer for free agency and just like moves. Because like when Sham says, "Oh, it's gonna be crazy," like it's about to get.
It can be, but there's also like it has to be through trades though,
That's
because
the thing. It has to be.
free
Yeah.
agency is quite weak this year.
Yeah, it's. I think it's more so they mean like the off season about off season
Sure,
moves.
I
You know
think
what I
it
mean?
could. I
Not
think you
not really
could.
free
Yes.
agency. Yeah, I shouldn't say free agency because I mean James Harden's a free agent. LeBron, they're gonna both stay in
Yeah.
LA. I don't see them moving.
And even
Yeah.
then, they're. I mean, especially with James, they're both. I mean, they're both. We're not looking at
Where are they gonna
an up
go?
and
It's just
coming
like
player that
yeah,
is like it's not a Jokic, it's not a Shea, it's not a Luca.
yeah. Where
Uh,
they go matters. Where they go. I mean, not
right.
saying that LeBron can't still, but I just like those
Sure.
guys. It's a
Yeah.
different league.
Absolutely.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.